is here! And I am not talking about the weather, I am talking about the fall season of anime that has just started. New episodes are launching right now, and I want to give you guys some first impressions. I'm Lauren from Funimation, let's jump into it. First up on our list is Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered, but overly cautious. It's an isekai tale as old as time. Cute goddess summons a hero to help her save a world that is a particularly difficult level. And surprise, if the name didn't give it away, I'm here to tell you that the hero is overpowered, but he is also overly, extremely, exceptionally cautious. I mean, this guy has to prepare for everything. My guy Seiya is obsessed with having his stats maxed out, which of course, all of this over preparation drives the goddess Restarte insane. As you can tell right now, I can really only share stills from this episode, but honestly, that's all I need. The studio does an incredible job with the art and the visuals, and some of these gags are just, I mean, look at this face, and this one. And this one! Honestly, I already know that my camera roll is gonna be full of these screenshots. I know it, I've accepted it, I'm ready for episode 2. Next up on our list is Fate Grand Order, Absolute Demonic Front, Babylonia. Okay, so this is the first full series for Fate Grand Order, and while tons of people are really familiar with the Fate franchise, for those of you who aren't, I got you. Remember all those names you learned in history of old dudes and gods? Cool, well now they're hot. I mean, honest, yes, there's a little bit more to it. Basically, to sum things up, bad guy creates a bunch of fake holy grails, leaves them at different parts in time, and then our main characters, Mash and Ritsuka, are tasked with going back in time to either fix whatever havoc these fake grails have caused or destroy them altogether. For returning fans, the series actually has a fresh new look, but in episode 1, we see a familiar face, Gilgamesh, right off the bat. Go ahead and cue your freak out. We also meet a major new face in the first episode, and the events unfolding actually hint that we are gearing up for a seriously epic battle in the episodes to come. Next up is Oresuki, Are You the Only One Who Loves Me? Episode 1. Episode 1 of this show did not go where I thought it was gonna go. Let me just get that right out of the way. Basically, we have a main character who seems like typical school guy, but we find out that he is not quite what we thought he was, and he is also in a love triangle that he did not think it was what it was. You have to watch the episode because this was paired with both really, really good comedy and also a turn and a twist that I did not expect. This definitely has my attention from episode 1. I have no idea where this show is going, but I can kind of guess. Next up is another show based off one of the most popular mobile games in the world, Azur Lane. Okay, so you know boats, big military boats, and then, you know, girls, like cute, adorable girls. You take those two things and then Azur Lane. If you're familiar with shows like Konkole or even Strike Witches, this is right up your alley, and episode 1 gives us exactly what we want, which is cool ass fights and cute girls. This show is set in a world where a unique advancement in military technology was developed with the arrival of aliens known as sirens. The 4 largest military groups in the world form an unprecedented military alliance, Azur Lane, but as tensions rise, as they do in war all the time, the factions split and the story follows the Eagle Union as they rally their allies to take on the now turned Red Axis. Also, I really just want to point out that the main character is the USS Enterprise, and she is a bald eagle, and I'm kind of losing my mind over it. Next up on our list is Special 7, Special Crime Investigation Unit. So when I first heard about the show, I really expected something a little more on the fantasy side. There's elves, vampires, dragons, but in watching the first episode, this has really, really strong buddy cop vibes. And I'm not mad about it at all. The look and feel of the show has a very jazzy, sketchbook, muted tones kind of vibe going on, which honestly really makes for an interesting visual palette cleanser in amongst a season full of returning shows and really brightly colored isekai. There's a huge cast of characters, all with different powers and abilities, so there's kind of a character for everybody, and even from episode 1, these characters really play together in a very interesting way, so I'm very excited to see how this cast evolves going forward. Next up, Kimono Michi, Rise Up. I have seen so much discussion about this show. When I watched the PVs, it really focused on, of course, the wrestling aspect, the isekai element, and animals. So what was super surprising to me in episode 1 is that the main character is actually much more soft-hearted than I expected him to be. This big, huge fighter, and really he just super loves animals, and all he wants to do is quit wrestling and open a pet shop. So the first episode gives us the usual isekai flavor that we know and love, but there are definitely some standout elements, including the fact that the main character is just in his wrestling gear the entire time with his mask on, just walking around wondering why people think he looks insane. There were things that absolutely caught me off guard, including a very unexpected suplex that would really only rival Nichijou. Episode 1 was hilarious. Definitely watch it. If you're looking for a more lighthearted comedy this season, this is your go-to show. Next in our season lineup is Stand My Heroes, Piece of Truth. More like Stand My Heroes. No. Sometimes you just need a show with a bunch of cute boys, and this show is it. And it's a cast of cute boys that are a little bit older, which is kind of refreshing. That is not to say that there is not a plot to this show, because there absolutely is. The crime element is a really, really strong hook. The first episode introduces us to this brand new agency called STAND, which is created to help combat drug-related crimes. We meet Rei Izumi, who's our main character, and she's super down to take problems into her own hands and also help make up for errors in the past, while recruiting new members for the STAND agency. Basically, you can catch me watching this every week. And the Koto Club is back. Kono Oto Tomare Sounds of Life, Season 2. The first episode of this season picks up literally where Season 1 left off. I don't want to spoil what happens, but if you are a fan of this show, Episode 1 gives us some prime, excellent Chika and Hozuki moments. If you haven't seen this show, it's centered around the traditional Japanese instrument, the koto, and this club of misfit koto players who are banding together to improve as a team. Next up is Africa Salaryman. Okay, hear me out. This show is office humor, but with wild animals. It is full of very strong been there moments. The style is just small comedic vignettes, which actually makes this the perfect show to lift your spirits after a long day at the office, or even after watching a different really intense show this season. And next is After School Dice Club. This show is really, really cool. So episode 1, we see 2 students who end up following their class president to what turns out to be a hidden board game shop where she works. They get introduced to a whole new world of tabletop gaming with a bunch of foreign games that they've never seen before. It seems like each episode may actually dive into a new board game. This includes some real games that avid tabletop players might recognize, as well as some games that you may never have heard of before and may actually discover through this show, which is really, really cool. Also, seeing these characters just jump into this world and master it is really heartwarming, and we should absolutely protect them at all costs. That's it for the first batch of shows this fall season. There are a ton of other shows. Stay tuned, we'll be doing part 2 of this video with everything else that's going to be launching. Tell me what you're watching. What was on the list that you expected to see? Or what have been some of your first impressions of the shows that we talked about today? You can stream all of these and more right over on Funimation Now. Check it out.